going to talk about have mercy. Who do you think of when I say that? John Stamos, Uncle Jesse, Full House, have mercy, right? I can't even do it. I'm not going to try to do it because I look funny up here doing it. But just give me a have mercy. Ready? 1, 2, 3, say it.
Have mercy.
Get it out of your system one more time.
Have mercy.
Because every time I'm going to say it tonight, you're going to see me as Uncle Jesse with a mullet and all. And a deep V-neck. Have mercy. Have mercy. I want to share a quick story with you. It's going to kind of set the picture and the atmosphere for what we're going to talk about tonight. There was a rich ruler. He was a king, master over many servants. He decided at a certain time, he said, I'm going to call all my servants in and I'm going to call my debts in. A lot of people owe me money and now I'm calling in my debt. These people have all the amounts of money that they owe me, and I've lent it to them, but now's the time I want it paid back. So he called in a servant. That servant came forward, and he owed a lot of money. Around $100,000 to $200,000, $300,000 he owed this king. The king said, I want to be paid. The servant said, well, my king, I can't, I don't have all that money right now, but if you give me time, please give me time, I can pay you back. And the king said, no, I want the debt repaid now. And he said, I just don't have the time. And the king said, well, this is what I'll do. I'm going to sell you, your wife, and your children into slavery. Your debt will be paid. That was customary at that time, actually. So that someone could just be totally cleared out of their debt. Their whole family themselves would be sold into slavery. But the servant gets on his knees. And he's begging and begging, please, please, to the master, please show me mercy. Please show me mercy. I ask you, please, give me time. Just give me time. And it says the master was just overwhelmed with pity for the man and compassion and said, stand up. Your debt is forgiven. You don't owe me anything. I'm going to show you mercy. You owe me nothing. You are free of your debt. Now go. Oh, man. How many have college debt here? Right? You're like, come on, Obama, do it for me. You're free of your debt. So this man, he leaves. And he's so excited and he's joyful. That was a close one. Oh, man. So as he's walking out, he sees a fellow servant who owed him money, about $100. And all of a sudden, he sees that servant. He takes him. He grabs him around the throat, begins to choke him, and says, pay me back what you owe me. Pay me back what you owe me. Now that servant looks at him and says, I don't have the money. I'm unable to pay you. Please give me time. He gets on his knees. He begs, please, please, just give me some time to pay you back. I can give you a little now, but that man, that servant who had just been forgiven his debt, showed no mercy. Took that man and threw him into prison. Well, there was others around who had witnessed him making his first plea to the king and being forgiven of all his debt. And then they saw this unfold and take place. They were disturbed. They were angry. So they reported this back to the master, to the Lord and the king. And they said, he did this. He was forgiven and yet he went. He choked this guy, threw him against the wall, was telling him he owed him. So the king was furious. So he had that servant come before him. And he said to him, did I not forgive you of your debt? Did I not show you mercy? And yet, you go out and you show this man no mercy. You wicked, wicked servant. Now, you will be in prison for the rest of your life. Well, many of you know that story. Maybe some of you have never heard it before. It's found in the Gospel of Matthew. It's a beautiful story. Chapter 18. Parable, actually, that Jesus shares. When he's sharing in that parable, he's giving us a picture. Picture how the kingdom of God works. How God has forgiven you and me our debt that we cannot pay. God showed you and me mercy. Forgave us. Cleansed us. But we are required. No, we have a mandate to be a people who show mercy and forgiveness to others as well. That's the point that Jesus is emphasizing. That we would not be like the unmerciful servant, but we would show mercy because we have been shown mercy. I think we have misconceptions of mercy. It's just a moment, something we get away with. Right? How many of you are pretty sly? When you were a little kid, you're like, I get away with it. It's alright, be honest. This is the moment confession starts happening. Healing's going to start right now. Confess. Well, I have a little story. I was probably about 5 years old, 6 years old. My parents, loving parents, they believed, though, in a little wooden spoon about this big. And we got spanked when we did something wrong, right? How many other people? You know what I'm talking about. Okay. So, I had an older sister. She was edgy. She got spanked a lot. I was smart. I learned. And I realized something. If I ask for a lot of forgiveness and say I'm sorry a lot right afterwards, maybe I don't have to get that spanking. So sure enough, a few times it worked. I did something wrong, whatever that was. Whatever you do wrong as a five-year-old, 6-year-old, you touch something you're not supposed to, you talk back, you don't listen, you run away, whatever it is. So I did. I learned. So I did it wrong. My mom's like, Stephen, you know better than that. You're not supposed to do that. And I'm just sitting there. Mom, I'm so sorry. Mom, I'm sorry. I know what I did wrong. I'm 5 or 6. Smart. Mom, I'm sorry. The whole rest of the time, right? Mom, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm doing little things, whatever I could for her. I was walking around probably. Not getting in trouble. I'm sorry. That worked. I didn't get spanked. Did it again, did it again, did it again. But parents are smart, right? They're smart. She knew what was going on. So one day she's like, Stephen, I did something really wrong. When your father gets home, you're getting spanking. Do you know what that meant? I will take mom's spanking over dad's any day. I'm like, what? Here's my plan. I'm going to get mercy again. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It felt like hours, right, until Dad got home. It was probably 1 hour. But still, it felt like days. I'm like, oh, the day is coming. Dad gets home. I'm like, this paid off. We have dinner. Nothing is said. I'm like, this is great. I got off. It's done. Till Dad's sitting there. All of a sudden, I see that little wooden spoon slide by Mother's hand right next to Dad's. I'm like, oh. But I said, I'm sorry. I was like, you did. And thank you for saying you're sorry. But there are consequences. And to the blue couch, where it went down all the time. We went. Where we talked through the spanking process and prayed together. There's still consequences. We got spanked. So we're done. Great. We prayed. I'm free now. But mercy kind of get away with something. So we have a misconception. I got away with it. I got away with it. Getting pulled over by a police officer. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This works for girls. Guys, it's like, you start being like, officer. I'm just like, get out of the car. Shut your mouth and get out of the car. Bigger ticket. Harassing an officer. Girls like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was going 42 miles over. And it works. Like, got away with it. Getting in trouble in school, whatever that means. You go there, I got detention. Please, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was wrong here. Okay, you showed. And that's kind of your interpretation, my interpretation of mercy. Maybe mercy is what happens when God sees we can't take any more pain. Maybe that's what we think. God literally shows His mercy when He sees in a sadistic way you can't take any more pain. What do you think of? Remember the game, Say Mercy? Do you know what I'm talking about? Where you grab hands and you're like, it's so awkward. I was going to have two people come up here and play Mercy in front of everyone just to get to the cross, but then I thought that's going to be so awkward and weird, someone's going to fall off. And then you get two guys that are really competitive. So it's even more weird, because it's like one of you just give up, kill the awkwardness, put your on the ground. If you want some fun entertainment, look up on YouTube like extreme Say Mercy games, and you'll see like grown men wrestling on the ground playing Mercy, or a guy and a girl. It's very fun. But that kind of concept, right? You are gripped hand in hand with God, and when He he sees you can't take any more pain. Oh, mercy, mercy! It's done. Or maybe God looking down at us saying, oh, you simple little foolish creature. I'll show you mercy here, there. Almost like the idea behind Greek mythology. The gods are up there observing us down here, kind of playing like a chess game with us as humanity. So that's what God's doing. He's, oh, okay, I'll throw some mercy there for you. Did you like that? Well, not this time. I'll give you some mercy here. And we have that misconception of what mercy is. Or perhaps we say the statement, I deserve mercy. I deserve mercy. Let's talk about that. I want to share a story with you. A mother once approached Napoleon seeking a pardon for her son. The emperor replied that the young man had committed a certain offense twice, and justice demanded death. But I don't ask for justice, the mother explained. I plead for mercy. But your son does not deserve mercy, Napoleon replied. Sir, the woman cried, it would not be mercy if he deserved it. And mercy is all I ask for. Well then, the emperor said, I will have mercy. And he spared the woman's son. I love that statement. It would not be mercy if he deserved it. See, we don't deserve mercy. Actually, mercy is not getting what we do deserve. That's the proper definition of it. When you break down the meaning of that word, it talks about compassion, deep pity, and deep sensitivity. Pity. We don't like that word. Right? Especially guys. You're playing a sport game, you know that person is better than you. They're kind of showing you pity, you know. You're dribbling the ball, like me, I'm playing basketball. I feel cool till I meet that person, which is like 90% of everyone on the court. We play Thursday night basketballs. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to see him. And he lets me kind of go around and do a layup. I don't like that. Right? Like, dude, stuff me. I've been stuffed plenty of times. You can do this. I don't want that. The football field, play off a little bit. Let the little kid, you were a little brother, a little cousin, you were playing with all the older guys in the huddle. Let him get to play. It's like, I don't want that pity. Don't give me pity. But you know what? Oftentimes, though, that's maybe how we perceive it from God, but that's not what it's saying there. When you hear that God has pity on us, it's this deep compassion, this deep sensitivity. That's what it means when God looks at us and he has mercy upon us. There's a cry we have to let out of our hearts, out of our mouths, for mercy. I think first we have to realize that we need it. And not be ashamed to ask for it. Not have the pride to say you need mercy. Acknowledging we've been given it. See, the world is going to tell you, do it on your own, be self-sufficient, achieve what you need to, by yourself, you can do it, you can do all things. Go for it. But the truth of the matter is you need the mercy of God. Because you can keep doing that philosophy up to a certain point. But when you stand before the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, God Almighty, you are like that servant who cannot pay their debt. We need the mercy of God. It can't be something that's just self-empowered. You can't earn it. Nothing you can do, no matter how hard you work, no matter how hard you do this or that, or this good thing, or that great thing, or give up this, or sacrifice, no matter what you do, you yourself cannot earn in your own power and strength mercy. God's mercy. You can't build your own vehicle of mercy. In Luke chapter 18, verses 35 through 43, there was a crowd. There's a crowd of people. And there was a blind man. And that blind man was sitting there. He had been blind for most all of his life. And he is sitting there and he hears about Jesus. And Jesus is coming down this road. He had heard stories about this miracle worker, this healer. So this crowd is happening. I want to read to you verse 38. He called out, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And those who led the way rebuked him and told him to be quiet. But he shouted all the more, "Son of David, have mercy on me." It's at that moment that Jesus found this man. He said, "What do you want?" He said, "I want to see." And Jesus healed him. And he saw. That man was unashamed. He had a cry for mercy. That even people told him, "Shut your mouth. Shh. Stop." It wasn't that nice. It was more like, "Shut up." It's like the meanest thing you could say to someone, right? I was talking with some people the other day about that. I'm like, that word, if someone was talking and you said, "Shut up," that's like, wow. Right? If you were having a serious conversation, I'll be sitting like, "Shut up, you shut up, you shut up," you're crying. But I'm talking about really, like someone's talking to you and they're just like, "Shut up." You'd be like, "Oh." All right, so this guy is blind, but he does not care. He will let his cry for mercy go because he knows the Son of God, the Son of David is what he says, emphasizing the Messiah, the deliverer is coming my way. I have one chance. Son of David, have mercy on me. See, I think sometimes we're a little too dignified. We don't like to even talk about this mercy thing because it makes us feel like we have weakness. Makes us feel like that we can be a little vulnerable. And we have too much of a dignified view of ourselves. This man didn't care. He cried out in a huge crowd like a wild man. "Have mercy on me. Son of David, have mercy on me." There was no shame there. He was desperate. A little earlier in that chapter, Luke 18, verses 10 through 14. I want to read another story that Jesus shared. He said, in verse 10, 2 men went up to the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood by himself and prayed, "God, I thank you that I am not like other people, robbers, evildoers, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week and give 1/10 of all I get." But the tax collector stood at a distance. He would not even look up to heaven. But he beat his breast and said, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." I tell you that this man, rather than the other, went home justified before God. For all those who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. What a prideful prayer. What a self-focused, prideful prayer. I'd be like you coming to the table. "Jesus, I thank you that I am holy, that I am righteous, that I am good. I'm the definition of good. I am right. I gave money. I gave money last week, and I will give money again. Forgive these sinners. Forgive Billy." Oh, you know forgive him. Right? That. Get out of here. Jesus is going after something here. And that tax collector says, "God, have mercy on me, a sinner." From his heart. Cry for mercy doesn't just have to be like that blind man out of your mouth, but sometimes God's going to require that. Sometimes you've got to be broken in humility. Cry out before Almighty God and say, "Have mercy on me." But you know what? Sometimes it's not about the words we say and everyone who's hearing us around. Sometimes that cry for mercy is inward, right in your heart, in your soul, like that tax collector, where God saw his heart, beating his breast. Have mercy on me, sinner. Actually, there was monks throughout the Middle Ages. They would go around for days saying that statement repetitively over and over. It was a type of reflection on the Word of God. Have mercy on me, a sinner. Have mercy on me, a sinner. Some people are like, I don't like hearing that. Don't declare that you're a sinner. But that's not what they're going at here. It's not a legalist attitude. What they were doing there is they were emphasizing the humility of who they were before Almighty God, that they needed the mercy of God. See, we can't be too self-focused. We have to be realistic with ourselves. We need the mercy of God. And when we embrace the mercy of God, we have a mandate to show his mercy. Going back to the story at the beginning of the unmerciful servant. The whole thrust, the whole meaning behind that, what Jesus is saying, is talking about our requirement that we have been forgiven. God's mercy has been bestowed upon us, and we must forgive others. We must show mercy on others. How angry are you when you hear that story, right? You sit there and you're like, what? What a jerk. This guy's on his face begging before a king for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and then in a moment he's forgiven of it. And then he walks out seconds, moments later, and he sees a guy who owes him $100. He's been forgiven hundreds of thousands, $100, and he grabs him violently. And the scripture is very strong to talk about this violent grab, a choking, hands wrapped around the throat. Pay me back, and no mercy is shown. And we get frustrated. We hate that. But we do that. We do that in our lives. We harbor offense and unforgiveness towards others. We don't show them mercy. We come to church and we might say, Jesus, thank you for your mercy. You've forgiven me. You've saved me. You've changed me. And yet when we go out that door, we don't show that same mercy to others. I'm not yelling at you. I'm speaking hard to you because I'm speaking hard to myself. More than ever, we have to be an authentic people before God. Because here's the issue. If you don't show mercy and forgiveness to others, then you have never fully embraced the revelation of mercy from God. You have never fully embraced it. Because if you did, then you would realize you have no right or deserving of mercy. But God has mandated you and I that as we have been changed, we walk out and we show forgiveness and mercy to others. So why? Why don't we show mercy to others? Maybe it's our pride. Maybe it's our pride. Why don't you forgive that person? Well, maybe it's your pride. Maybe you want control. Because you know if you release forgiveness, if you show that mercy in that sense and you release forgiveness, then suddenly you no longer have control over that. Because you've released it. Maybe we desire to hold on to our offense. Human nature, fallen human nature, there's something comforting about holding on to our offense. It's actually sometimes, it can be a security blanket for us. Holding on to that unforgiveness. Because we're afraid when we let it go, what do I embrace? We talked about that last week. When you let go and you cast your cares, your anxieties, and those things at the feet of Jesus, then you embrace his cross. You will not be left empty-handed. But you will have treasure. Maybe we just want that person to experience consequence. We don't see it happening. We don't see that individual experiencing the consequence that they do, in most cases, rightfully deserve. From what we look at in the ways of right, wrong, and justice, like that Napoleon story, we want them to get the consequences. We don't see it happening there, so you know what? I'm going to hold unforgiveness. I'm going to harbor that offense against them so that they still realize that there's consequences to what they did. Why do you think God says revenge is His? He's trying to rip out of us that control, that we have the right to judge, we have the right to say who is forgiven and who is not, when we were that man on our face begging for mercy, and it was shown to us. I'm not saying that the people you forgive and you show mercy upon, that you have to become best friends with them. That's not what I'm saying. You know, you have some situations you shouldn't have a friendship with them or contact with them. But they could be thousands of miles away, and you've never released that forgiveness and that compassion of mercy upon them, and you are still holding on to it. So tonight I'm going to ask you to then go around and become best friends with all of what you consider your enemies. What I'm saying to you is, let go. Show mercy and forgiveness so you can take hold of what God has for you. Because that's only going to be a weight you drag that one day you drown with. That's why in Luke it says, be merciful as your Father in heaven is merciful. His mercy and compassion are new every morning. That's the lens we have to peer through. That's the lens we have to look at. That we look out through His mercy. We see with eyes of love and forgiveness, because we know on that opposite side of the lens, we have also been seen by God with love, forgiveness, and His mercy. So my challenge to you tonight, you can stand, and as you stand, the band can come make your way up here. Challenge to you tonight is you have embraced the mercy of God, now bestow the mercy of God on others. And I find something very interesting. When that begins to take place, others around you, not that individual normally, it's others around you, friends, family members, are going to see you and what you're doing, the forgiveness you're showing, and they know. And they might say, why do you show mercy? Why are you forgiving him? Your father abused you. Evil things. That person did a very wrong thing to you. Scarred you for the rest of your life. That person talked behind your back. Hateful things. They spread rumors around about you that have tainted who you are for years. You feel like every time you approach it, you have to talk about how I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Whatever it is. And that person might say, why would you forgive them? Why would you release that? And that's where I say the same reason I show love. Because he first loved us. That's why. Because he first showed me mercy. Jesus was and is the physical arms that have covered us with God and his mercy. Jesus is the arms of mercy. He has embraced us. He has forgiven us. So that's my challenge tonight. Jesus. God, wherever we're at, if we are at the point in our life where we have to cry out for your mercy, if we're at the point where we need that reflection moment of saying, have I lost sight? Have I felt deserving of God's mercy and it's given me pride? Forgive me, Father. Let our hearts be humble hearts before you. You're awakening in us, individuals, faces, even in our minds right now, people we have to release mercy upon, forgive, and let go of those offenses. May we do it enveloped in your arms. May we let go of that weight and that burden we have held to fully embrace the revelation of you, Jesus Christ, and your mercy. We thank you, Jesus. You are a good God. You are a merciful God. We are unworthy. We are unworthy, God, but you have found worth in us. You have covered us in your mercy. You have held us with your grace. That's why we stand as who we are. In the shadow of our Jesus. And we come before you and respond in worship and reflection.